Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to tackle a really high-stakes corporate puzzle: employee onboarding during a merger or acquisition. We're going to break down why so many of these deals end up failing, and more importantly, how to turn what is often a really risky transition into a massive strategic advantage.
Okay, let's just dive right in with a number that is, well, it's pretty staggering. Get this. Research shows that somewhere between 50 and 90% of all mergers and acquisitions just fail. They fail to deliver the financial value they were supposed to. So what on earth is going wrong?
I mean, you've got to wonder, right? With billions, literally billions of dollars on the line, what's the main culprit? Is it bad math, a flawed strategy?
Well, surprisingly, no. The answer almost always comes down to one thing: the human factor. Mismanaging people and clashing company cultures, that's what's responsible for nearly 2/3 of all failed deals. So at the end of the day, it's not about the spreadsheets, it's all about the people.
And this brings us right to the heart of it, the M&A gamble. Because if you get the people part wrong, the entire value of the deal is suddenly at risk.
And check this out. The talent exodus after an acquisition is just dramatic. So while a company might normally keep about 88% of its regular new hires after a year, that number just plummets to 66% for acquired employees. That means they're losing crucial talent nearly 3 times faster. It's a huge problem.
So that 34%, those are the employees who are literally voting with their feet and walking out the door within that first year. And here's the kicker. For every single person who leaves, you can bet there's another one who's totally disengaged, quietly hunting for a new job, or just mentally checked out.
So to really understand why this happens, we kind of have to step out of the boardroom for a minute and try to get inside the mind of an employee whose company was just bought.
And this slide, this says it all. Here's the core difference in their mindset. A typical new hire, they're enthusiastic, right? They chose to be there. But an acquired employee, they're probably feeling pretty anxious. For them, this massive change was just imposed on them. They didn't apply for this new reality.
And this is exactly why a standard, run-of-the-mill onboarding process just isn't going to cut it. Not even close. Leaders have to create a totally special playbook to handle this unique mix of uncertainty, the overload of change, the weird new team dynamics, and all those deep emotional and cultural barriers.
You know, the core principle for any leader really should be this simple idea. Employees aren't choosing to join a new company. Just acknowledging that reality is so key. The goal isn't just to absorb them like assets on a balance sheet, it's to make them feel truly invited into the new organization.
Okay, so let's shift gears and talk about the solution. And it all starts with the critical work that has to happen way before the merger is even official.
A successful integration is absolutely built on this foundation. Before day one even happens, the homework has to be done. We're talking about everything from identifying your key talent and understanding cultural differences to mapping out the entire integration and having a playbook ready to go from the jump.
Now, a huge piece of that homework is the cultural assessment, really studying the other company's values and work styles. Ignoring this cultural blind spot is exactly what led to famous failures, like the Daimler-Chrysler merger. That deal basically collapsed under the weight of 2 cultures that were like oil and water.
All right, so the deal is done, day one arrives, and now the focus shifts completely to what I'd call the art of integration. This phase is all about communication, culture, and just consistent human-centered support.
You know how it is? In a vacuum of information, people will always assume the worst. Always. That's why clear communication is everything. Things like being transparent, empathetic, and actually creating a two-way dialogue, that's what builds the trust you need to guide people through all the uncertainty.
And this leads us to this really cool concept called longboarding. The idea is that onboarding isn't a one-day event, it's a process. The really smart companies extend it over the first 100 days, creating these regular touchpoints to provide continuous support as the new organization shifts and settles into place.
But beyond the formal process, it's really about personalizing the experience. Simple things like assigning a buddy or fostering new social connections. These things are incredibly powerful. They show employees they're being treated as individuals, not just as positions on an org chart.
So what does it actually look like when a company gets this right? What is the real payoff of putting people first through all of this?
Well, let's look at the marketing firm AdsVerve. When they acquired a smaller company called Liquidbox, they didn't rush it. Instead, they focused on a gradual 2-month transition for the 23 employees they were bringing on board, and they communicated clearly every single step of the way.
And the result? By focusing on this deliberate people-first strategy, AdSwerve achieved 100% employee retention 1 year after the acquisition. 100%! I mean, that is a stunning success, especially when you compare it to those industry norms we saw earlier.
In this quote, it just captures the final takeaway perfectly. The ultimate goal of M&A onboarding isn't just to combine systems, it's to unite people. It's about convincing everyone that the future is brighter together. So the real question for any leader isn't just what's the financial upside, but how do we make our people really believe in that future?